After Flameheart's resurrection, it's time to focus on a new adventure arc, and we started off by helping Tasha, the ancient Spire Tavern Keeper that, just like Brixie, didn't ask to be cursed. Just as we didn't ask to be cursed with this much sailing time. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. It's time to sit back, relax, maybe subscribe, and listen to my opinion while I also explain some of the lore to you. So let's get into it. Just like always, we start our adventure by talking to Larina, who points us to a mysterious woman to help us further. And no, this time it's not Belle, but Madame Olivia, who has offered her assistance in helping Tasha. This is the same Olivia we gave Brixie's skull to during the cursed rogue Talltail. Olivia used this skull to extract the locations of the Shroudbreaker stones that Brixie hid across the Sea of Thieves. This time Olivia needs us to bring back artifacts belonging to this notorious pirate in the hope of finding new memories that can lead to the cure for the skeleton curse. To help us in our quest, we will be using a book Brixie left Tasha. But some pages are missing. These pages are held by teacher skeletons, and Brixie's compass will point us to them. Upon defeat, these skeletons will drop both keys and missing pages. With these pages added to the book, we can solve the clues and find the chests containing Brixie's artifacts. And we are just a couple of minutes into the review, and I already explained almost all of the adventure. It's a pretty straightforward quest, and at times it does feel like a big voyage. And to make this voyage even longer, you can also find some journals left behind by the Dark Brethren. You might be thinking what they have to do with this story, so let's quickly discuss these journals. There are 8 of them in total. That seems like a lot, but luckily they are all located within the new greenery of these islands, so they are pretty easy to find. The first 2 are written by Wanda and can be found on crooked masts. You will find the first journal on the northwest side of that island. While reading this, we learn the Dark Brethren are on a similar quest to find the cure to the skeleton curse. Not to cure themselves, but to use it as a bargaining tool for those who do wish to return to the flesh. The second journal can be found near the 3 painted tentacles. In it, we learn Brixie never found a cure, but the Dark Brethren will not give up. At the moment, it's a bit unclear how they are on the trail of Brixie, but I feel these green patches in the wilds have something to do with it. Either way, we find the next set of journals on Old Faithful Isle. Unlike the previous 2, these are written by Amaranta. You can find the first one in the green vegetation near a watchtower on the top of the island. It talks about Amaranta forcing herself to think like Brixie in order to find the cure. And you can find her second journal in the greens near a shark painting. In it we read Amaranta contemplating about Brixie's mask, and I believe this journal is setting up a plot point for a later adventure in this arc. To be more specific, I think the mask could be a way for Brixie to separate her soul from her skeleton remains and thus escaping the curse she never asked for. The next journals are written by Duke and can be found on Kraken's Fall. The first journal can be found by the highest trees on the south side of the island. In it, we read Duke complaining about Wanda, which shows a more interesting dynamic between the two, where Duke is clearly more of an individual compared to Amaranta. His second journal is in the greenery on the southwest shore. In it, we read Duke pondering about other ways to achieve their goals, but before Duke finds the solution, he gives up and thinks about having some grog instead. Which does sound like the old Duke, but not the more collected Duke we have seen recently. But the sour taste these journals leave behind have more to do with his writing style, since it doesn't match to what came before. This time he writes like a drunken pirate, which is a stark difference to his previous journals where he writes in plain English. Compare these recent journals to his Sunken Kingdom journals and it feels like a different Duke wrote these. And unless there are multiple Dukes in the story, which there aren't, this feels pretty sloppy. Either way, let's move on to the last 2 journals that are again written by Wanda, and you can find the first one on the inside beach of Marauder's Arch. In it, we read Wanda contemplating a more insidious idea to reach Brixie's secrets, which is followed up in her second journal on this island, which can be found just past the large arch as you make your way up. This last journal explains Wanda's new course of action. She plans to threaten something or someone dear to Brixie in hopes of forcing her spirit to take action. It's still a bit unclear to me if this means they are the ones behind Tasha getting cursed, which I originally believed, but it could also be this journal is setting up the next adventure instead. With all journals read and all artifacts collected, we can bring these back to Olivia. But before we get there, I want to complain a little about these items. Not only are they just reskins of stuff that came before, but they are also not saved in your radial. Granted, these are items we either use or turn in, but it does feel like a step backwards from previous adventures. For example, we couldn't lose any of the flares or effigies during the Shrouded Deep adventure. We didn't lose any of our items, but I can imagine this happening to less experienced players. When we finally turn in the artifacts, Olivia starts the ritual to draw even more memories from Brixie's skull. After a little hocus pocus, the ritual seems complete, but Olivia tells Tasha to be patient for Brixie's secrets to be revealed. And the lore explanation for this is that Olivia used her orb and foresaw a 2-week delay for the next adventure. I'm joking, but also I'm not. Upon completion, you are rewarded with Tasha's enchanted compass. I personally feel another piece of Brixie's clothing or her mask would have been a more fitting reward. Together with sails, compasses have been rewarded a bit too often. I'd much rather have a special shovel instead of a special compass. Oh well, maybe next time. So, is this a good adventure? Let's start with the positive first. Solving the maps was fun, and I'm still amazed how many different treasure maps this game already has, and they always find new variations on these maps. The differences can be slight, but I still appreciate the effort of making all these map quests different. I also like the fact we are getting more Tasha and we are getting more Brixie. It's nice to see NPCs having their own little stories, even though the relationship between Tasha and Brixie didn't really evolve from how it was during the legendary Storyteller, which is also one of the reasons this adventure feels so similar to that tall tale. I did like reading more about the Dark Brethren and what they are up to, and this does get me excited for the future adventures of this arc. But now the not so positive. This adventure feels pretty much by the numbers, and it doesn't really stand out compared to some of the others. No incredible reveals or boss fights, just a lot of sailing. Which, to be fair, I don't really mind since I'm always having fun with my crew. But this adventure can feel like just a big voyage. It lacks a little personality or an interesting element and therefore feels a bit bland. The artifacts are all reskins and we only have interactions with other NPCs at the beginning and at the end of the adventure. I mean, it's a good thing we don't need to report to Belle first before we can sail to the final island, but some surprises would have been nice. Overall, this adventure was the most adventure yet. I hope you understand what I mean. I did enjoy it, but it won't be as memorable as some of the others. Just like eating vanilla ice cream is not bad, but what you really wanted was some white chocolate with pistachio. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. I still read every single one of them. And if you are still craving for more lore, we will dive deeper into these new journals and these mysterious patches of green vegetation in our next podcast episode. So please subscribe so you don't miss out. For now, thanks for watching this video and I will see you in the next one. Take care.